What's up? Just finished reading Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead. Now, Ayn Rand has a lot of controversy surrounding her in today's political conversation. I never really knew too much about Ayn Rand. This is my first experience reading her work, and I love it. I think this was a great book. She is an excellent writer. Outside of the political, whatever your political theory is or your biases are, it's a great book. It's a great story. It's super well written. It goes so deep into character development and the subtle conversations that characters are having without using dialogue between the two characters. There's this deeper thought, deeper conversation that's going on between the characters. And I thought that was very, very well done, very intriguing. So philosophically, Ayn Rand is an individualist, which is associated with liberalism, social liberalism. Being left alone to do your own thing and not having anybody interfere with you. So, and she's going up against collectivists who are socialists. Now, people tend to get confused between a socialist and a liberal. Today, the definition of liberal has changed because of the Democratic and the Republican Party. The terms liberal and conservative are very confusing. You think I'm lying? What are you? Are you a conservative or are you a liberal? Are you a Democrat or a Republican? If you're a Democrat, you're probably not a liberal because liberals don't believe in big government. Can you believe that? Look it up. Liberalism is freedom to the individual. Laissez-faire, baby. That's true liberalism. Both sides, Democrat and Republican, are both big government folks. Republicans are conservative socially, not really economically. Yeah, they want to. Anyways, I don't want to get into this. I'll make another video on that. Anyways, the main thought process of this book is collectivism versus individualism. The main struggle with the individualist in the book, Howard Rourke, is that the collectivists, the bad guys, are constantly trying to destroy him and get him to conform. And all he wants to do is build his own freaking buildings, man. He's an architect. All the people in the book are architects or they are publishers and newspapers and stuff like that. Ayn Rand talks a lot about how newspapers can control popular thought. And pretty much the point she's making is a lot of people in the collectivist mentality are much more willing just to accept the mainstream ideas or the ideas that are given to them, fed to them through the media outlet, who is this guy Ellsworth Tooley, who's this slimy character. Everybody loves him. Publicly he's super awesome and he's like always talking about how he wants to help people and selflessness. He wants to give up his ego and put others before him. And he's convincing everybody else to do that. And he convinces people that if you give some money to this charity, you're a good person. She has a lot of contrasting these people who are criticizing the individualists for not giving to others, yet they're living these decadent, crazy lives, or they're scoundrels themselves, and they think just by appearing to support the main bad guy, Ellsworth Tooley, or give to some donation, that they're automatically good, altruistic people, which is a good point, I think, because that is incorrect. The arguable premise of the book is by looking out for yourself, not purely at the expense of others, there's a character who represents that, Peter Keating, he's kind of an individualist in the beginning. He's looking out for himself, just like Howard Rourke wants to do his own thing, but he relies too much on other people, namely Howard Rourke, for artistic inspiration, and he's only really worried about what other people think of him, and he's only really concerned about how far he can get his career. Howard Rourke, he doesn't give a damn what happens. Most of the book, he's poor and broke and everyone hates him. No one's giving him any work. He can't come to an agreement with anybody because anything he puts forward, they want to change it, and he won't change. He won't compromise. He won't compromise his principles, which is noble, in my opinion. For me, it resonates with me. I think it's important to have objective principles, and Ayn Rand is famous for creating objectivism. I almost went on a tangent, and I suppressed it. You should feel pleased by that. I spared you. I don't know if I should talk more about the story or continue with the philosophy of the book. Basically, that's it. If you're interested in political theory, in a sense, and if you're interested in political theory, this is a great book. It's a very good book. I highly recommend you reading it because the characters in the book do a very good job at acting out their philosophies. You may say it's biased, just coming from Ayn Rand, who is an individualist, so she wants to portray the socialists as the bad guys. But at least you can understand her perspective, understand her philosophy, instead of just, slinging mud and taking see, don't be like the bad guys in this book who just hear something on the news or hear something in the newspaper and just say, oh, that's my belief too because it resonates with me. Read the damn book. Go deep into the ideas. Look for logical consistency. Look for examples of people who have lived that lifestyle before you. That's part of my journey in doing this is to look at the foundations of my principles and see if they're correct or not. And I invite you to come on that journey. Okay, I'll talk a little bit more about the book now. And if you don't want to read it, I'll just tell you what happens. So if you're going to read the book, stop watching. Thank you for watching. You should stop the video. The three main bad guys, Peter Keating, Ellsworth Tulhi, and Gail Winard. Howard Rourke, all of them challenge Howard Rourke in a way, and he pretty much destroys all of them. Not by doing anything physical, but just by adhering to the individualist philosophy. Gail Winard and Howard Rourke developed a very strong bond. And because Gail Winard, in some respects, was an individualist, but he had such a painful upbringing that it put him on the path of the lust for power and domination, and he is like super evil. Just anybody who had integrity, he hated. So he used his newspaper, the Banner, to smear anybody who showed principles of integrity. There's a very interesting female character, Dominique Franken, who baffles me philosophically. And it just shows me how little I understand about women, because some of the things she does in this book, and I trust Ayn Rand's portrayal. Some people may say she's not good for the feminist movement. Ayn Rand, I don't know. I don't really know enough about it. Because Dominique Franken gets raped by Howard Rourke, and she likes it. And I'm pretty sure there's feminists out there who would be very upset that Ayn Rand portrayed the situation like that. But it's much deeper than that. There's a subtle back and forth between those two characters. And I think because Dominique Franken's an individualist in the feminine essence, and he's so masculine in the individual essence, there's like such polarity that they just like are super attracted to each other, but they live such different lifestyles that they can't get married. So like, you think, okay, she loves him a lot. They both love each other, but they never get together until the absolute very end. They spend 10 years pretty much fighting each other and putting each other in super awkward situations until finally they get together. Romantically, this book is kind of a romantic book also, has romantic elements, but I simply could not understand Dominique Franken's perspective. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I don't want to, get anybody angry over something I don't know, I don't understand fully. So at the end of the day, Ellsworth Tulhi, Peter Keating, they get crushed. They fail. Gail Winard loses everything trying to defend Howard Rourke, because even though he has everything, Gail, he still feels this emptiness inside of him. And something about Howard Rourke inspires something in him, just like he inspires something in everybody in the book, pretty much. And there's a case where Howard Rourke blows up a building because he designed it and they didn't design it correctly, so he said, fuck it, blew the shit up, and let himself get caught. And Gale uses his whole public strength with the newspaper to defend him, and the people are like, why are you defending this egoist? Why are you defending this parasite? And he's losing credibility with his company, but he doesn't care. He's just spending all his money defending Rourke. And then so Dominique Franken marries Gail Winard, and them three are hanging out all the time. Gail doesn't know that Howard Rourke and Dominique were in a relationship, and then right at the end, Dominique and Howard have sex, and that's a total betrayal to Gail, but he still doesn't really care. I mean, he never wants to see them again. That's how they end up getting together, because the marriage between Gail and Dominique end. But Gail still gives Gail helps him to get exonerated. Howard Rourke has this big individualist speech in his defense in the courtroom, and he succeeds. The people find him not guilty, and he's free. Finally, he is not punished. Every juncture in the book, he fails in the public eye. His buildings are laughed at constantly, and finally at the end, 750 pages, finally he wins. And Gail, even after all that craziness, gives him one final contract, which is to build the biggest building in New York City, the biggest skyscraper in New York City, and he builds it, and it's this super amazing scene. Great book. Definitely read it. The struggle between the individual and the collectivist. It's pretty much the struggle between, government. Well, I guess I kind of see it in a sense of government and authority over freedom. You can't force people to do stuff. You have to trust their own individualistic desires. You can't assume that just because they're based on ego, the desires, that they're evil. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching.